Malolo se fo manuia ma le langi ma le nei fo ivanga o le aso Samoa. Ia I le nei fo ifa upoponga o se tātou special editions alau BluTV. Ia e tu sai fo I o le alo atu le whainga palota le general elections a sio matu o tiru o New Zealand nei le nei tu sanga lua whelua se folo ma le tolu. Ma te whaafera I atu I lunga o le fola le tātou porukalame ma lore se fo maua ma le langi e mama. Warm up on my BluTV, whether on Tautaiai or Pacific Morning and Taiao Manuia, Fatalo Fatu, Mofolo Fantu, Ianti Oto, Umalava, Ele Nevanga or Leaso. Ya, or to owner ne Asiata Falemalu, Pio Valico. Ya, I miss it for ya, or le Tausala le Mato on BluTV, Ya Hannah Schmidt. Talofa, how are you, Hannah?
I am very good, thank you. Talofa lava, malo lava sufu, malalangi mama. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our BluTV election special. Thank you for joining us. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm feeling excited. Can't wait because we do have our special guest. We're waiting for him to join via Zoom. The Right Honourable Prime Minister of New Zealand, Chris Hipkins. O le taibile ne o le whaatalitali le tātou connections man le whionga le ipale mia. Yeah, Chris Hipkins. But yes, Hannah, I'm feeling good. I can't wait to ask him some questions in regarding the preparations for the general elections.
Absolutely. We're actually really honoured to have him on so we can share some of our perspectives of what the Pacific community are needing and wanting at this time. How has election season been for you?
Well, it's been a roller coaster with much of the words going around and promises. There's a lot of promises now, planning on from all parties, not only the Labour as well as the National for ilato ia te lewa ngai o lato tautino a lato o mai to tonu o whainga malo pe avea I lato mo whainga malo I taitainga. O le ante le ni vaenga mani policies that they will be looking into changing, uplifting,
Yes.
and for the beneficiaries of everybody. But yes, it's been busy.
Very busy. We're seeing all the signs up. We're seeing everyone campaigning for who they prefer to be their representative for the electorate. As we're looking at the polls, the recent poll that was conducted shows National on the rise, a National and ACT government holding 60 seats currently. And we have Labour, Greens and Te Pata Māori at 52 seats. With the rise of popularity, New Zealand first, Winston Peters,
Here comes
the Kingmaker
again.
The Kingmaker again.
Yeah. For Hannah, not this term, but the previous term. We saw the similarity of what's happening right now with Winston Peters. I remember he's a Samoan chief. Winston Peters. Now, he's a veteran, first and foremost. He's probably, in fact, the most experienced person and politicians here in New Zealand and probably around the world, one of the veterans.
Yeah.
So he knows what he's doing.
And also one of the funniest politicians. He's had a lot of backlash for what he says on camera, but he's, like you said, he's a very experienced man. And Labour actually said they don't want to work with him. National has said their fair share about not working with him, but it looks like, based on the polls, that they both need New Zealand first.
Definitely. Remember for Hannah, o Wawasama na Winston Peters, o ana policies, po vaenga mo mia, it's all New Zealanders are the same. Like they really, don't believe or are encouraging the separations of like races, Maori, Pasifika, Pakia, Asians. Like he believes in the one policy. Like every New Zealanders, every people that lives in New Zealand are equal, are the same. They are all under the umbrella New Zealanders. So there's no kind of like special treatments for these tribes and all this. So vaengalana Kamalo, Winston Peters. But then back onto the polls and the standing at the moment. Yes, because emo mia leono somaritasi ono foa e mawhai ai ona manu malo ina e se pati po oni pati. ia le whainga malo New Zealand, ono sumaritasi. So by the look of things, yes, they still need New Zealand first.
Absolutely. And I think another thing to keep in mind is these polls are not representative of all of New Zealand. They basically get a focus group of about 500 to 1,000 people, and then they see how that'll look or predict the future of New Zealand. But these results are never final. So there is still an opportunity for you to make a difference. If you're not liking a right-leaning government, if you're not liking a left-leaning government, you still have the opportunity to vote.
Cecilia, for the party votes and the stats from last week, while we're waiting for the Prime Minister of New Zealand to come onto the show. Cecilia, lead level in national, but it's dropping, as well as the Labour as well. Yeah, Green is going up. ACT, your best friend, is, and I'll come back to that.
Yes, let's talk about that. Yeah.
Yes, they're sort of like, but New Zealand first.
They're rising.
They're rising, and they're making a lot of noise right now.
Yeah.
The man is back, anyway.
So ACT was gaining a bit of popularity a few weeks ago, but now it's sort of declining. I'm not sure why that is.
I think it was right after your interview.
Yes, just letting you know, if you want to know David Seymour a bit, we did interview him.
But one of the things, Hannah, honestly, one of the things is I did watch that interview. Every media, whether mainstream media or other Pasifika online social medias that interviewed us, David Seymour, he was still in defensive of what he said about the Ministry of Pacific People, but only on your interview that I saw him apologizing for it. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know if after that.
Yes, so I'm hoping he means what he says, even though it did not seem genuine, his apology. But well, let's see how this goes. Who do you think will win this election based on your support for National? Just kidding. He doesn't support National. Who do you honestly think will win this election?
That's a tough questions to have to answer publicly. Yes, all over here. I love change. I will welcome change, and I'm ready for change. You know, ever since it also for New Zealand, Pasifika people are for Labour. You know, Labour lover. We do have this magical saying when it comes to elections, all Pasifika are or is Labour. And I've always asked the questions, why? Now, you know, I've been a supporters of Labour ever since I got to New Zealand. But with the rising of the cost of living, petrol, and the high tax rates and all these things, I would love to see changes, to be honest. I would love to see what National or other parties can be able to put onto the table in terms of tackling the rises of the cost of livings and with the rents and mortgages and things like that. So, to be honest, I won't mind.
You won't mind a change in government? Yep. Oh, that's a very tricky one.
What about you? What about you?
For myself, I do feel there will be a late surge with Labour, and that's because the polls are never indicative of what represents New Zealand. So, but based on these polls, it looks like National and ACT have a pretty good chance if they decide to work alongside New Zealand first. But I am hoping that Labour and Greens have a surge. I am a swing voter, so I'm constantly swinging between National, Labour, and even the smaller parties that I agree with. So it's like
you're the Tarzan here. You're the Tarzan. You're undecided.
And you're the Jane.
You're undecided. But you're Samoa, Olema te whaatalitali tautali a duole te imi e whasota ima iai. Le whionga le lipane mi o New Zealand. Chris Hipkins e lunga o le tātou. Poru kalami whaapitoa le nei. Ia o nei whaatalitala noanga awa le alo atu o le tātou whainga malo New Zealand mo le whainga pālota. And Hannah, just before we go into the short break, you've interviewed quite a lot of different party leaders and party candidates recently for the last 3 to 4 months. What are your experience in terms of their takes and plans on the coming up elections?
Yes, so we've interviewed representatives from ACT, from National Party, from Labour. They're going to be released soon this coming week for elections. My one takeaway that I really valued interviewing all these amazing people who are standing up for their communities is to vote for the person who represents you the most. I had a good conversation with Dr. Anai Nehru, and he told me, vote for the party who you know can push what you need for your people. So where you see that being delivered, take it. Don't get caught up in all of these small little 30-second TikTok videos or, fighting red and versus blue. Wherever you feel the need that will support you, vote for that party.
Manaya, ao e sau noa le vaenga lea. Lea ngai iwa, ngai uti whia mana ifisiringia le ngale di pandemia. Chris Hipkins, with regarding some of the new policies in place. National, now they're announcing the 5-year multiple visa for parents and grandparents if they do come to power. Ole vaenga la le sa officialisio candidates ole national e tu sai ole tulanga le. Ele ise conditions for ole visa le. Remember nowadays we do have 3 years multiple visa or 1 year multiple visa with the max of 6 months you have to stay in New Zealand, and then you have to go back home to come back again. You can't stay full on 1 year or full on 3 years. Ole vaenga la ia o ia inga ale swing of forward national with this 5-year visa for parents and grandparents to come visiting New Zealand. There's no conditions of you staying in New Zealand. Yeah, whether you're going to stay for the full-on durations of 5 years, but your medical checks, mame umafapena, ole afa amwe la va ile insurance, ale tangata ro ainga lea etutongi tuol pa ma sponsor mai oi. So etongi la ainga nei fa tawalantu insurance. Yeah, medication, some Medicare atangata ni parents and grandparents. Now, I am looking forward to ask the current Prime Minister what is his take on those, because I heard there's a 10 years super visa plan and a 10 years MNC visa for the overstayers.
It'll be very good to get the details on that and very important for our Pacific community as well. I'm also interested in asking him about the economy, how we're going to make living easier. It's so expensive. Everything is expensive nowadays. Gas, even doing the groceries a week. So I'm interested in asking him that, even our health, how Labour government, if they come into government again, how they're going to support Pasifika health.
Absolutely, and I'm looking forward to asking him about this free travel visa to Israel. Might as well get a one for free.
For Samoa, right?
Absolutely.
And across the Pacific.
We're going on break, and once we come back, let's welcome Right Honourable Prime Minister Lefionga Chris Hipkins.
Whaonga le Pacific Eastern Money Transfer masina to ke topa o da mawai le o loa manoa te ono man maloi fai loa tupe e fase fulu ta I lua se lautala wa sau nia mo ana pa anga e lua se fulu fai longa mo ta tau New Zealand nei e lua se fulu foi fai longa mo a inga I Samoa e se ina fai longa se fulu yaso to na e o vai yaso te tasi a fai o e sa uni malanga asi yasi Samoa mana tua le Moana Rentals malana whapitoa e se fulu 5% wa pa uma walano I ta vale maututongi ai inga whapitoa mo nisi o whamtalanga wala au le o Barcelau o tasiono po telefoni masani lua fitu ono fitu wiva fitu fa male lua fitu ono fitu wiva barufa Pacific Easy o laupaanga mo tupe fa mo moli Samoa.
Okay, talo falava and welcome onto our BluTV special editions. Today we do have our Right Honourable Prime Minister of New Zealand, Lefionga Chris Hipkins, and I am so glad to welcome him onto the show today. My name is Asiata. I am your host today.
And I am Hannah Schmidt, your political correspondent, and welcome to our BluTV Election Special 2023.
Now, first and foremost, Lefionga, Right Honourable Prime Minister Chris Hipkins, how are you today so far, not only with your recovery and with preparations to the general elections?
Oh, talofa lava. It's great to be able to talk to you. It's obviously a really interesting time to be involved in politics at the moment. It's a challenging time for me because I'm stuck isolating in a hotel room at the moment, trying not to spread my COVID-19 germs to other people. But also, we're we're getting very close to election day now, and there's a lot of interest in the election. So I'm still trying to keep up my interviews and stuff, doing them via Zoom and via other remote means so that people can actually hear about what's at stake at this election, because it's such an important election.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us today. Let's get straight into it. The cost of living has become an issue for many. Pacific Islanders predominantly sit in the low to average income cap in New Zealand. And with the current cost of living, many families are spending more than 80% of their income just to survive. What is your actual plan to get this economy back on track?
I think the two most important things that you can do in a cost of living crisis is make sure you get inflation back down again, and then support people with the cost of living whilst you do that. So we're getting inflation back down again. That means that wages are growing faster than inflation. That means prices will stabilise again. And in the meantime, we're doing a variety of things to help people through this tough time. So I've set out a 10-point cost of living plan. Some of those things we've done already. We've already taken away the $5 prescription co-payment. We've made public transport either free or cheaper for younger New Zealanders to make it easier for them to get around. We've got a plan in place now to make early childhood education cheaper by extending free early childhood education to 2-year-olds. That'll help with families' costs. We've got more steps along the way, including making dental care free for our under 30s, increasing working for families and the in-work tax credit by $25 a week. That's going to make a big difference to a lot of families. And taking GST off fruit and vegetables, because it's something that we know will help with the household budgets a little bit.
And Prime Minister, how is the Labour government ensuring that they are in touch with the vulnerable communities that this is hurting the most, which also was part of the Pacific Island community?
Well, I think our Labour MPs on the ground every day out in their electorates are well aware of just how challenging it is for families at the moment. Our economy is growing again. Inflation's coming back down, which means in the longer term, we can expect interest rates to come back down again, which will be good for those who have a mortgage. Wages are growing faster than inflation. But at the moment, I know households are still feeling the squeeze. And that's why we've made cost of living the centre piece of our election campaign, because we've got to support Kiwis through this tough time. The alternative is to, adopt a national government approach, which is that they want to cut most of those things that I've just mentioned, and they want to put thousands of people out of work right before Christmas. I don't think that's going to take New Zealand forward.
Now, Mr. Prime Minister, I'm going straight into some of the immigration policies that you're planning on putting into places if you do continue and come back into power. With the super visa, with parents and grandparents putting in place for 10 years. Can you elaborate more on that? And are there any conditions and how that will benefit us, Pasifika people?
So the super visa is designed to ensure that those who are living in New Zealand, they've become, permanently established here in New Zealand. When they need to, they can bring their family members over to spend an extended period of time with them. I know for my own experience that this is particularly valuable when you have a new baby, for example, but there'll be other things as well. People might have healthcare needs where they want someone from their family to come and support them, or it might just be that they haven't seen them for a long time and they want them to come and stay for a while. As long as they can support them, or as long as the family members can support themselves, then they're adding to New Zealand. They're not costing us anything by being here. And so giving them a visa of up to 10 years, allowing multiple entries so that they can come and go, it will actually help our migrant communities who have come to New Zealand, made New Zealand home. It will help to make their lives better and help to ensure that they can keep in touch with their own families.
Mr. Prime Minister, your policy on 10 years amnesty visa, could you tell us specifically who that is for?
So I've said that for those who have been living in New Zealand more than 10 years, that they're regularised here, they're settled here. We want to be able to regularise their immigration status so that they can bring their immigration status back to, good standing. And then they can plan their future here in New Zealand with confidence. In many cases, some of the people have been here a very long time. They continue to contribute to New Zealand. They're often working, paying taxes, but at the moment they're not given the legal recognition that they need. And they're also therefore not able to access the public services that they should be able to rely on. So I think by saying to people, look, if you're well established here, if you've been here for over 10 years and your immigration status for whatever reason has fallen out of date, then let's get that up to date.
Now, speaking of the special visa, your Honourable Prime Minister, is this a visitor's visa now when their status reinstates into legality, or they're able to continue staying in New Zealand? Is this some sort of similar to a work visa? Are they able to do employments here in New Zealand and have the same entitlements as all the other people who are obtaining residence and citizenship?
Yeah, so the regularisation program really is about making sure that that your visa is up to date, that actually you've got a long-term pathway to be able to stay here in New Zealand legally, that you can access the public services that you need. That's really important, and I think that it'll help to avoid exploitation of those people. We're bearing in mind too that some of the people who've been here a long time, they might have had children in New Zealand, and those children are also unable to access things like health and education in the way that they should be able to because of their immigration status. And so let's get that sorted.
It's quite while we're here on this immigration matter, because I know a lot of us Pasifika really do want to hear from the government. What's the take on this? Because it becomes a long time matter and issues for a lot of us in the Pasifika. Now, in terms of this visa that we're talking about and the able to be here. Now, my question is, Honourable Prime Minister, why this policy and this good planning come out in this time of the season, which rather done it a year ago or 2 years ago, but why now coming up with this plan? If you can explain that, please.
When we made the apology for the dawn raids, it was long overdue, and we said then that we were kicking off a whole program of work, including targeted scholarships for our Pasifika community, making sure that our schools had the resources to be able to teach the history of the dawn raids, and we've been doing all of those things. One of the things that we committed to was to look at a regularisation program. So we've had that work in train. I would have liked to have been able to announce that earlier in the year, but of course we had a change of Minister of Immigration earlier in the year, and that did slow things down a little bit. But we've made good on that commitment. We said that we were going to do this when we did the dawn raids apology. We've worked that through the system now, and now we're ready to make that undertaking.
Thank you very much. Now, one more. I think I do have one more question regarding the immigration. We do have a free visa to Israel now with our friendship. Now, any plans of having a free visa to Samoa, or even to Tonga and to the Pasifika, Honourable Prime Minister?
Well, of course, those things are all discussions between the two countries, and so I haven't got anything new to share on that one today.
Thank you for that. On small businesses contribute a lot to our economy. What is Labour's plan to support small business owners, and to be more specific, Pasifika small business owners?
I think the number one thing that we can do to support all businesses, whether they're big or small, is to make sure our economy is growing and to make sure wages are rising. Now, I know that many small businesses will see things like rising wages as a cost to their business, but it's actually also the way we ensure they get a good income. So the more money people are earning, the more money they're spending, the bigger the economy will be, and therefore the more opportunities there are for small business. And so by growing an economy that's growing wages, we can actually support all businesses, including our Pasifika small businesses. There are a range of targeted supports available to our businesses to make sure that they can, work their way through the tough times that they've got. So if they're an exporting business, for example, then there's support available through New Zealand Trade and Enterprise to market themselves internationally, to open up new export opportunities and so on. And that's just one of many programs. There are business mentoring schemes available and so on. So we'll continue to make sure that we're backing all of our small businesses with access to those sorts of things.
Amazing. And just a follow-up from that one, how will you ensure that the entrepreneurial spirit, the opportunities within New Zealand, that fire is still burning with aspiring business owners?
One of the things that we want to do this election is we've said that we're going to make financial literacy compulsory in all of our schools, because actually that's where you're going to find your future entrepreneurs. So making sure that they've got a good understanding of finance and the way markets work, that's really important, because I think that will actually help to cultivate our next generation of entrepreneurs.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. Now let's go to the health and our national health here in New Zealand, with the amount of waiting time and issues with short staffs, how are we able to put that into perfections in terms of Labour continuing with the next election?
The health system's been under such an enormous amount of pressure because of the global pandemic. COVID-19's just disrupted everything in the health system, but they're making really good progress in catching up. So what we've seen from our health system in recent times, for example, is that they're getting those waiting lists back down again. So they've got waiting lists. By the end of this year, they'll have waiting lists for everything other than orthopedic surgery to under a year. And I know next year they're aiming to get that to under 6 months as fast as they can, because I don't think New Zealanders should be having to wait the amount of time that they have been waiting. That is a result of the pandemic. I think we have to accept that we couldn't avoid that. But now the question is, how can we get that back under control as quick as possible? In terms of things like waiting for emergency departments, so when you go to ED and you need some urgent medical care, one of the reasons that you're waiting so long is there's a lot of people in emergency departments who we could have avoided being there in the first place. Things like free prescriptions means that people will get access to the medicines they need, so they won't end up in an emergency department. That's going to have a positive impact on the amount of time that everybody else who does have to be there spends waiting.
And speaking on the short staff issues, now I do believe that there were, during COVID and our walk through COVID, there were policies with the unvaxxed people weren't able to continue employments. Now, are you looking into reinstating some of those that were affected by that policy just to continue employments in terms of helping our health system?
So all of those mandates have now gone. So there's now no impediment to those people working in our health system or anywhere else. So really it's a question of them finding a job that they're interested in doing, but there's no longer any mandates there. So everyone, whether they're vaccinated or unvaccinated, can apply for any of those jobs.
Amazing. Pacific people have historically voted for Labour. Compared to National, do you still believe Labour is the party for Pacific people, and why do you believe that?
I've absolutely loved the time and the interaction that I've had with the Pacific community in the brief period of time that I've been Prime Minister, and I've received very strong support from our Pasifika whānau during that time, and I want to thank them all for that. Labour never takes the support that we receive from our Pasifika community for granted. We've got the biggest team of Pacific MPs in our caucus, in our Labour team, that the New Zealand Parliament has ever seen. And I can assure you that they also make sure that the Pacifica voice in Parliament is never taken for granted, and that we are making sure that we're doing everything we can to support our Pacific community. And you see that in what we're doing in education and making sure that our education system is reflecting the aspirations of our Pacific people. You see it in our health system and the work that we're doing to make sure that we're getting equitable outcomes for Pacific people, because they shouldn't have to wait longer for health care, and they shouldn't have to have lower life expectancy than other New Zealanders. So I think we've got a proven track record of taking this seriously, of making sure that we are actually in it for our Pacific people. And the banner behind me says, "In it for you." That's very much my message to our Pacific people. I'm here because I want to make sure that you're getting all of the opportunities that you deserve.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. Now, one last question before we wrap this up. How is the Deputy Prime Minister, our very own Samoan, Kamau Sepuloni, and if Labour do still continue leading our country in the next term, do we still see our very own Samoan, Mrs. Kamau Sepuloni, as the Deputy Prime Minister, and around that area, please, Prime Minister?
I think Kamau Sepuloni has been an absolutely fantastic Deputy Prime Minister. I love working alongside her. So my message to the Pacific community is you've got someone there that you can be incredibly proud of. And if you want her to continue in that job and you want her to still be our Deputy Prime Minister, the best way of achieving that is to make sure you vote and make sure you give your party vote to Labour. And then Kamau Sepuloni can stay as our Deputy Prime Minister.
Now, final thoughts about Mr. Aupito Su'o-Williams. I know he resigned, but I better give you this opportunity since a lot of the majority of Samoa, not only locally but worldwide, is loving following this show and watching this program. Thoughts on Aupito Su'o-Williams?
Well, Sir William Sear has been an absolutely fantastic member of our team. He's been an energetic and passionate advocate for the Pacific. He's travelled all over the Pacific for us in his time as a minister. He's really been a staunch around the cabinet table, particularly when it comes to negotiating the budget, to making sure that our Pacific people get their fair share of what's being distributed. So I think he will be missed. But I know we've got an incredibly strong Pacific team in Parliament who will be all too willing and ready to pick up that challenge.
Now, thank you very much for updating Level Fionga, Ele Balimio, New Zealand. Honourable Chris Hipkins, thank you very much for your time and to come onto our BluTV show today. Well, all the best, good luck, and we'll speak to you probably very soon after the general elections.
Sounds good. It's been great to talk to you.
So far. Ja, after I do for me tanto malolonga masani le vanga ole aso ile tato fa pitole nei le o mai al tato fa tel noanga male fionga ile li pa le mia o New Zealand po Aotearoa songa Chris Hipkins ile le vanga for yo leso. Well, that was interesting. And what's your take and thoughts on the interview, Hannah?
That was great. I loved his answers that he had for us, and also how what they've done for the Pacific community so far. But my question is, can they deliver?
Yeah. Magic questions.
What about yourself?
Well, I am happy with answering questions as the song Chris Hipkins e loa la vai le yo na tali man fa malam la mai no vainga. One of the things I like about when we ask about those unvaccinated people that left the health sector, they're able to go back and reapply, and so the door is open for them to reapply now, because now everything is back to normal. Wale o to yeini tato yeinga mani tato tapu manisa longo winga afa pena you got let go, or however the situation, you can now go back and apply.
It's good to get some clarity around that. And also, please go out there and vote. We need to encourage our people to go out there and vote. You know, there may be some of you at home thinking my vote doesn't matter, or what will my vote make a difference, but your vote does make a difference, and there are people relying on you to not vote so that they can get into power. So make sure you go out to your voting booth and vote for the person you feel best represents you.
Yeah, lena ai le tawurunga ina le ma proklami fa bitoa ma le tausala ia hana au na ngalo tuli matai mai le fa awa wino le nei fa bitoa ila so tofio le vai so anga fo nei. Now next week Thursday at 7 p.m. is a special program on le whātautaya ina lo le tātou nanga le BluTV so tau au whātasi for the first time with all our Samoan Pasifika media podcast and broadcast.
It'll be very exciting.
Here in New Zealand for the first time, Hannah, we will have a panel of hosts. Now we're speaking of hosts, you know, o ila tau o lau wi alava of menei o whaasala launga i te tonu o Aotearoa nei. O le sui mai le Radio Samoa, o le aiele tātou sui mai i le ET Live, ia o le tātou sui mai i le Capital Radio i Wellington, o le aiele fui mai le tātou sui mai i le BMN 531 BI. Ia, ai mai se foi, o nisi o tātou community leaders, o le amawhai, o na manisi o whai pisi nisi, o le amawhai o na join le tātou talanoanga i lungo le lau next week, Thursday, e le tāo le fitu le afi awana e misia. E iai le tātou whaapitoa le na. Ia, o le uta maua i o le Radio Samoa pea o le awhionga. Ia sa vea po le sunga li ataua. Sa vea Al Harrington le vea le whai masui mai o le Radio Samoa. Ia, o le tō whaia balauli. Tui, eri tau rupini. Ia, o lea will confirm mai fo i le tātou PMN. But so far, ito e confirm mai le sui o le a awai mai. Ia, o le a iei fo le tātou sui mai le Lord Capital Radio mai Wellington. Ia, manisi o tātou sui whai pisi nisi. Ma ila tau e iei le tō mai fo i le mai le communities. Coming together, plus our BluTV,
Absolutely.
Awale fa mo hana.
It's going to be something to look forward to for sure. Having all of these very talented and skills reporters coming together to put on something like this for our Samoan community and Pacific community is going to be amazing. So another event that is also happening this week, actually tomorrow at 10 a.m. in the morning, is the Pacific Businesswomen's Political Panel Brunch. We will have members from National, ACT, Green Party, Māori Party present, who will be discussing issues that women face in business. So that'll be another political panel that is happening at the Pacific Business Hub. The link to that event will be attached to this video. So if you'd like to come through, please come through, just register. And we will also be live streaming this event and video recording it, and it'll be streamed on BluTV. So for our women, our Pasifika women who are interested and want to know a bit about their candidates, this would be a good event to show up to. There is also food and brunch available.
Oh, I'll come for the food, definitely. Well, whaatele lava, o le taulunga na o le ma whaatele noanga le nivanga o le fiafi, like, love and share. Share tanto purkalamele nei, and looking forward for next week, Ron. Good luck on that, Pacific businesswoman and discussing.
And good luck to your event too. I can't wait to be there.
Yeah, until then, whaasoifoina mo le nei vaenga o le fiafi.
Whaonga le Pacific East Money Transfer masina atoa o ke topa o na mawai leo loa manoa te ono manamalo i whailonga tupe e whase fulu ta i lua se lautala wa sau nia mo ana paanga e lua se fulu whailonga mo i tātou i New Zealand nei e lua se fulu fo i whailonga mo a inga i Samoa e se ina whailonga i se fulu yaso tōna e o vai yaso te tasi a whaio e sauni malanga asi yasi Samoa mana tua le Moana Rentals malana whapitoa e se fulu 5% wa pa uma walalo i ta vale maututongi ai inga whapitoa mo nisi o whamtalanga wala au le o Barcelau o tasi ono po telefoni masani lua fitu ono fitu iwa fitu fa male lua fitu ono fitu iwa varu fa Pacific Easy o laupaanga mo tupe fa mo moli Samoa.